Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a classic fairy tale to figure out that hidden formula, the one that makes certain stories stick with us forever. So, what is the secret sauce behind a fairy tale that lasts for generations? Well, it often boils down to a really powerful, universal structure, and we're going to use one particular story to unlock its magic. To do that, we're going to use a framework you might have heard of before, Freytag's pyramid. It's this classic five-part structure, and it's perfect for showing us exactly how a story like this builds tension, creates a hero, and delivers that deeply satisfying happily ever after. Okay, let's dive right in with part one, the exposition. This is basically the once upon a time part. It's where we meet everyone, see their world, and get a feel for how things are supposed to be before it all gets turned upside down. So first up, we meet our protagonist, Samina. And get this, she is described as being so beautiful, like otherworldly beautiful, that her parents literally keep her sheltered from the world out of fear of its jealousy. Now, this isolation is key because it leaves her with only one single friend, her pet cat. This setup is just perfect. It establishes her innocence, but also her profound vulnerability. So now that we have seen this perfect, sheltered world, let's move on to the rising action. This is where that perfect world starts to crack, and the central conflict gets introduced and really starts to ramp up. And here it is, the catalyst for everything. Pure, unfiltered jealousy. This one quote just says it all, doesn't it? You can feel the resentment in those words. It's the tiny spark that's about to set the entire story on fire. And this contrast really lays out the core battle of the story. On one side, you have Samina's pure, simple, trusting nature. And on the other, you have the calculated, devious malice of her so-called friends. It's that classic struggle, innocence versus corruption. So this group of 7 girls, led by this one girl, Sidra, who is described as the most cunning and devious, they decide they just can't stand living in Samina's shadow anymore. Their goal? To teach her a lesson and, in their words, clear their own path. And just look how methodical their plan is. This is not an impulse decision. They gain her trust, they invent this magical world to prey on her imagination, they even help with her chores to get her away from her parents without them knowing. It is just a truly cruel and calculated manipulation of her innocence. Okay, all of this has been building to one single moment. We've reached the peak of the story, the climax. This is the moment of maximum tension, the point of no return, where the conflict finally boils over. And there it is. In one swift, shocking moment, all of that simmering jealousy, all of that careful planning, it all culminates in the ultimate act of betrayal. They get her far away from the shore, and they push her. Their cruelty doesn't even stop there. They actually mock her as she's struggling for her life, celebrating their horrible victory. This line is especially chilling because they twist the very thing they were jealous of, her hair, into one final deadly taunt. Whew, okay, after an intense climax like that, we enter the falling action. The tension starts to come down a bit as we move toward the resolution, and it usually starts with some kind of unexpected twist. So instead of drowning, Samina just wakes up. She's not dead. She's in this magical little boat made from a coconut shell on some strange, calm shore. And waiting for her is a handsome young man. But he has a very surprising feature: cat-like ears. So, the big question is, who is this mysterious rescuer? Well, the story does something really clever here. It connects him all the way back to the one creature who was loyal to her all along: her cat. The true nature of her only friend is just about to be revealed. I gotta say, I love how his identity is revealed in these stages. He's not just some random hero who shows up out of nowhere. First, he was her cat, then her mysterious rescuer, and ultimately, we find out he is Prince Murtasim of the kingdom. And here's the final piece of the puzzle that makes it all make sense. He explains that his mother was a fairy, which gave him magical powers. Turns out he'd fallen in love with Samina from afar and took the form of a cat just to be near her, secretly protecting her this whole time. And finally, we reach the denouement. Let's see how all the threads of the story get tied together to create a new, lasting piece. Right away, justice is served. And it's so poetic. The girls, whose inner nature was so ugly and cunning, are transformed by the prince into rats. Their outside finally matches their inside. and they just flee in terror, their power completely gone. So, with the villains punished and our hero's true identity revealed, a new, better world is established. Samina has a tearful reunion with her overjoyed parents, Prince Martissim asks for her hand in marriage, and it all ends with a grand celebration as they seal their happily ever after.
And really, that journey is what makes this entire structure so powerful. Samina starts off in this sheltered, innocent world, gets plunged into the worst kind of betrayal, and then emerges into a new reality where she's found true love, family, and her rightful place in the world.
So in the end, you see this classic structure isn't just about telling a good story, it's about exploring a deeper moral. Samina's outward beauty is what caused all the conflict, but it was her inner character and the prince's incredible loyalty that led to the happy ending. It really leaves us with a final question to think about. What truly matters more?